to Her Crown, where we are all about growing in our faith, growing in our relationships, and growing as women. Today, I will be talking a little bit about King Solomon. And this past Friday, I did the video of Sipping Tea with Jesus about celibacy and sex within marriage. And I would really encourage you to go and watch that one just to, get somebody else's perspective on celibacy and whatnot. And in that video, I encouraged you to read Song of Songs or Song of Solomon because Solomon was the author of it. And I figured it would be kind of nice to kind of touch on Solomon and who he was so we can actually know who the author of that book was. And I found out some interesting things while reading and finding out about who Solomon was that really left me shocked. I was blown away because I really didn't know much about him, and then as I kept reading, it shocked me the way that this story kind of transpired into. So basically, Solomon was King David's son. So Solomon, King David died, so Solomon became king, and he found a lot of favor with God. Like, God favored him. It's because when Solomon went to God, he was praying to God, and God was like, okay, Solomon, what do you want? I'll give you what you want. Paraphrasing. And Solomon just asked for wisdom and basically knowledge to run the kingdom. So because, that's all he asked for, God gave him more than what he asked for because he felt that he honored the fact that Solomon just wanted wisdom, which was, I think, very honorable at the time. So he had so much wisdom. A lot of people in the kingdom really wanted to learn more about his wisdom and see the way that God blessed him with such wisdom. Like, he was very wise. And then, two women came to him. They were bickering over a baby situation. Basically, one woman's child had died, and the other one had a baby who was still alive. So the mother of the baby whose child had died swapped the babies and kept the living baby. And then, of course, they both were bickering, and they went to King Solomon, and he was like, okay, well, to settle this, give me a sword, and we would just split the baby in half, like cut the baby in half. That was very drastic. And then, of course, the mother whose child was alive was like, no, let her have the baby so that, my baby won't die, basically. And then the other woman was just like, no, let's just split him in half, which made no sense to me because she's the one that swapped him in the first place, but then she didn't care that he was going to die. So, of course, Solomon knew because of that the woman who said, go ahead, let her have the baby was the true mother, because no one is going to let their baby get killed, basically. So, after that instance, everyone in the kingdom just were blown away by his wisdom and how wise he was. And, just over time, he just kept doing things that were very bright. Like, he was a smart man. And, during King David's reign, he wasn't able to build a temple for God. I believe it's because, like, a lot of war was going on, so he was kind of just busy with that, basically. So King Solomon was able to build a very beautiful temple for God, and it took a while. I don't remember the exact amount of years. I'll put that up there. But it took a while, but it was very beautiful. And of course, remember, because he only asked for wisdom, God gave him more than what he asked for. So God blessed him with money. Like, he was very wealthy, and like he seemed to me, I would say, kind of bougie, but not like in like a horrible way. Like, he liked nice things. Like, his cups were of gold and everything was beautiful, and the money really started to get to his head. And this part blew my mind. He had 1,000 wives, like 1,000 wives. Like, 700. I'm gonna read this to make sure I am saying this right. He had 700 wives who were princesses and 300 who were concubines. Like, of course, starting off, he had one wife, and she was the daughter of Pharaoh. So I'm like, how do you go from having so much wisdom and having one wife and, living your life for God, doing such great things, to having 1,000 wives and just going down a path of destruction? And when I was reading that, I was really shocked because I'm like, people really do take for granted what God has blessed them with. He had He literally had everything he needed and then some, like more than what he needed. And it goes to show that no matter how much wisdom you have, no matter how much money you have, your relationship with God has to stay intact and has to be strong, because you can allow money to get to your head, sex get to your head, and fame and all that will get to your head, and then you will lose, you will lose the reason why you even received all that stuff. And I was just so blown away. I'm like, he had all this stuff, like he was blessed tremendously, like he was set for life basically, and then went to have 1,000 wives, and these wives, all like those women, they worship other god, they worship idol gods. And then he ended up, okay, wait, they worship idol gods, and then like during the time they ended up not loving him, they like went to, they did basically, they got tired of him. So he ends up like setting up statues or something for these other gods, like just, and I was like, are you kidding me? You're gonna go that left, that far left? I mean, don't go far left at all, but he went above and beyond. I really feel like the main point of this story, or just his story, his life, Solomon, it doesn't matter how much wisdom you have. It doesn't matter how much you thought, God favored you. If you don't keep his commandments and you don't live a life that he is pleased with, all that can be taken away like that. And I just really want us to be reminded that we have to always stay grounded in God and stay humble. He does not like people who boast and think that they can just live any kind of way once they get the blessing that God has given them. So, that's really all that I wanted to touch on with Solomon, because that is big in itself. And I think I still am just blown away at the story, because I didn't think it was going to turn into that deep. Like 1,000, I'm just thinking 1,000 wives. Like, really, you had to do all that. But, nobody's perfect, but still, that was a bit much. So, once you get the promises that God has given you, remain humble. Always remember who is the one that even blessed you with those gifts. Continue to seek God when you receive the promises of him, and continue to bless him and thank him, even just because of who he is, not because of what he's given you or about to give you. Thank him for who he is, because he is just peaceful and a provider, and not even a provider of just gifts, a provider of love and joy. Like, I think we need to focus more so on who he is rather than what else or what all he can give us. So that's really what I wanted to touch on today, very quick, because this story was just like, wow, blew my mind yet again. So, yeah, thanks again for watching. Continue to seek God. Continue to silence your mind and your thoughts so that you can hear from God, so he can speak to you. I think hearing God's voice is such a beautiful thing. And if you haven't experienced it and you haven't really you don't know how to do that, I think just spend time with him. The more time you spend with him, the more your relationship with him will build. So again, thank you for watching. Like, as always, follow me on Instagram at hercrown__, and stay in touch there with more content that I usually post daily. And I just pray that your week will be blessed, and you will hear from God, and you will open your spiritual eyes to see him in different ways. So again, thank you again for watching, and have a great night.